stop trying to figure out what the next coin is and stop trying to figure out the next strategy. What the hell is Bitcoin? Have you lost your mind? It is possible to experience this 100x, 200x plays. It was very good timing. It was during the 2017, 2016 bull market. That quickly multiplied into over 200,000 because I'm thinking, well, the next step is 1 million. I did actually put all of it into Bitcoin and I lost all that money.
Welcome to BitGet Show. I'm your host, Bugar Usi, and today we have Smith with me, the trader, crypto influencer, key opinion leader. Which one is the right one?
Well, Crypto Smith is definitely the brand name. I would say that I am definitely doing some trading, most definitely looking at the markets every day, but also doing a bit of influencing, as you see by my TikTok and YouTube channels. So it's totally up to you which you want to choose.
And how did you end up in crypto?
Wow, that's a very, very broad question, but it always comes back to when I was about 18 years old. So around about 7 years now, I've been in crypto.
Is that even legal? I know, like in US, people are not allowed to drink until 21, you know?
Well, I'm from London, so people start drinking, I think, when they're out of the womb, almost in London. It's a lot different culture. When I first turned 18, I got into crypto. I was actually very fortunate enough to be given an inheritance by my great-grandfather who passed away. And sadly, it was due to an issue that was to do with his work when he was younger. He was mining in the mines when he was very young, and he actually died from asbestos poisoning. And very sad, but he lived a very good life. It was a very great influence for me, and he left me some money due to his issue. We actually talked to the government, and they gave us the inheritance. And after months of pleading with my grandma, who was very apprehensive at the idea of cryptocurrency, because I grew up with my grandparents. My mum and dad weren't in my life, and I grew up with my grandparents, and I was trying to persuade her every day for months. Bitcoin, crypto, this, that, blockchain.
Like, how do you explain to a grandma what Bitcoin is?
It was very difficult. She just assumed that it was just this fake money. It was going to go nowhere.
Monopoly money.
Exactly, monopoly money. And for her, that generation of people, they want to be able to see physically the asset, or, for example, in this example, the money. They want to be able to hold it. They want to be able to see it. It needs to be a tangible asset. So here I am, 18 years old, trying to persuade my grandparents to put money into Bitcoin that I was left by my great-grandparents. Oh, it was a challenge, believe me. Every day I was nagging my grandparents, trying to explain to them what the blockchain was. And obviously it's going over their head. They're just rolling their eyes at me. But eventually I managed to strike a nerve with my grandma, because she was just so bemused by my conviction and my not willingness to stop pestering her about putting my money into Bitcoin, because she was saying the traditional, get a mortgage, get a car on finance, go the traditional route, the safe route, so to speak, because in her generation, that's what worked for them. They saved up their money, they put it into property. And of course, we know property prices very much went up in their generation.
Especially in UK, in London, definitely.
Oh, believe me, yeah. So, for example, my great-grandparents' house was worth around £14,000. And when they died, it was worth about £500,000. So the appreciation there, in their mind, they're thinking, you need to put this money into property. And here I am, naive William Crypto Smith, trying to persuade my grandparents to put this money into Bitcoin. What the hell is Bitcoin? Have you lost your mind? I was trying to explain the blockchain.
That's great that you could even explain, because this holiday season I was spending with my grandma. She's in her 90s. And whenever I was like working with my laptop, she still calls it like, are you playing on your laptop? Like for her, like laptop is for playing only. Like for a job, you have to dress up, go somewhere, do something. Like she can't even like comprehend the fact that, you know, I could work on a living room from a laptop. She'll always like, oh, you're done playing. And here you could convince your grandparents to invest in most advanced technologies out there.
Yeah, of course. It was almost, I think she at one point thought I lost my mind. She was really questioning my mental health at that point. But with the conviction I had and the everyday pestering, eventually she started to warm to the idea that maybe I actually knew what I was talking about. Because I was 18 years old, as I mentioned, but I was actually trading the stock market as young as 15 years old, not with real money, demo money, but I was very much influenced by a family member who was trading for a big bank in the city of London. From a very early age, I was just watching him go off to work early every day into London, commuting in and out. And I was wondering, what is he doing? And my grandparents always spoke very highly of my uncle. He was almost like a brother figure to me. He would always tell me, you have to work hard, you need to get a job, you need to work in London. So I was very much influenced by my uncle from an early age, and I really was trying to get to grips with what he was doing. So I was watching the stock market from an early age. I was looking at currency pairs. I was trying to figure out oil, gold, silver. And to be honest, it really took me a long time at that age to actually come to terms of what I was actually looking at a screen, whether it's just a chart, numbers. It took me a few years to get to grips with it, but I think that all came together at 18 when I figured out what Bitcoin was. With that knowledge that I'd gained from the stock market, knowing that people could have invested into Apple, Coca-Cola, and they were just holding long term and trading the spikes as well and making good money, it really piqued my interest. And that's when I was looking into the blockchain more convincingly and trying to relay this information to my grandma to really get her to give me that money to put into Bitcoin, because I did not want to go the traditional route of investing into a mortgage, which in the Latin word literally means a contract of death. And I actually knew that from an early age, and it really plagued my mind. I was thinking to myself, okay, let's say I go with this traditional way. Let's say it was £50,000, just pure transparency. I was given £50,000, which I know
That's a huge
that's
money.
a lot. People save a lifetime for that money, and I was very grateful for that. So I was trying to figure out to myself, if I go this traditional route, let's say I get a mortgage, let's say I finance a car, and then I go into a corporate job, I'm thinking to myself, I'm then trapped in this job because I then have to keep up the payments on the mortgage, I have to keep up the payments on my financed car. And I really did not want to go in my uncle's footsteps purely because I saw how stressed he was. Trading for a bank in London, as you're probably aware, is very stressful. And he had no time for his family, apart from the small vacations that he took. He was very, very stressed. And I saw that and I was thinking, it's a good role model to have in terms of he's working hard, but it's almost like his soul is being taken from him. So I was like, I cannot be trapped trying to pay a mortgage and be trying to further a career for the next 10, 20, 30 years of my life. I knew that just wasn't quite what I wanted to do. So I really fought back against the idea of parking that investment money into a mortgage because, again, I just didn't want to be trapped in a corporate job. You start when you're 18, you climb the career ladder. And for me, that just wasn't what I wanted to do. But I was still very interested in trading. The charts, they spoke to me. I was always looking at charts. The idea of buying an asset and holding it for a period of time and making a substantial amount of money, essentially, you're not really doing much work in investing terms. Separate to trading, you just get in early, you have your conviction, you do your research, and you hold for a period of time. So I'm trying to figure out how can this come into play and correlate with Bitcoin that I've just figured out is something that I really like for various different reasons, which I was coming to my grandma and trying to explain the blockchain, how it's an open ledger, how anyone can just buy and transfer money for literally no fee whatsoever. In her mind, she's thinking, wow, that must be a scam. It's too good to be true. It took some serious work to convince my grandma. Luckily, my granddad is just like, you talk to your grandma. If she agrees, things are fine with me. And eventually she did cave in and she did let me put some money into Bitcoin back when I was about 18
That's how
years
you
old.
started, like 18 years old. You took that 50K and put all in Bitcoin?
All of it. And wow, my grandma, she was like, I think she was just like, you're very stupid, lose the money. She just got to the point where she's just like, he's stupid. Here's the money, blow it. You'll learn your lesson. But
Very
actually,
expensive lesson, but like it must be a lot of pressure, right? As an 18-year-old
yeah.
with all that money that you didn't even earn.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a wake up call to say the least, because I had no money before that. I wasn't working a job. I was just studying in school. But that's when my school actually ended in the UK and I had the choice to go into university. I got accepted into the City of London University to study risk management, which would have led me into the banking, trading side of things on a more, institutional level. And it didn't fit right with me because I had this money and I'm thinking I must be able to leverage this in some form without having to work a corporate job and without being stuck in trying to climb a career ladder. So I did actually put all of it into Bitcoin. Thankfully, it was very good timing. It was during the 2017, 2016 bull market that quickly multiplied into over 200,000. And at that point, my grandparents are like, wow,
we are rich now.
he's onto something, right? They really believe that I was onto something at that point. Sadly, I had the inexperience. And then, as we're all aware, we go through cycles in crypto. We go from the bull market very quickly pivoting into a bear market. And I lost everything in 2018 to 2019 in that relentless...
Were you trading at some point, or it was just all in Bitcoin waiting? Because like 2017-18 was also like an ICO kind of chaos. Now we call it chaos. At that point, it was kind of a next.com boom. Everyone was issuing tokens and trading, and all these, put a dollar, become a millionaire stories were like a booming. Like, how was like you didn't get tempted, or did you get tempted?
Yeah, I'll believe me, I got tempted because I was still new to crypto. It was my first year in crypto and I had this money and I'm also naive and I'm young. So I'm trying to look for a community of people that I can basically talk to and try and figure out what should I do. And I found a Discord community similar to one that I actually run myself, which is partly why I actually put so much emphasis into my Discord community, because the first year in crypto, I found a community that welcomed me in. I worked my way up to be an analyst in that community because I was every day sharing my trades, my analysis. And quickly I began to figure out that I could trade very well in a bull market. But as you know, when you pivot into a bear market, it's a psychological thing where you think you're this god, you're this amazing trader. You've just turned 50,000 into over 200,000 in a bull market. And I had the inexperience and I didn't quite notice we actually pivoted into a very, very harsh bear market of 2018. So I kept trading the same ferocity, the same sort of taking 10 trades a day, looking for ICOs, looking to park my money in these high risk assets, because I'm thinking, well, the next step is $1 million, right? That's the logical conclusion for such a naive brain. And I lost all that money. And it was a very hard time emotionally for me because
how do you recover from that? Because every trader I almost talk, they all have this like a glory face where they're like, I know everything, I am trading, we are becoming super rich, I work with bigger transactions. And then all of them have this one big major event that they either didn't sell on time, they didn't buy on time. And it becomes very hard to recover from that. And recently we were talking to Matthias Mende, and he mentioned that he's now into more of an AI bot trading because he doesn't trust himself anymore and he doesn't trust other humans anymore. And like it was his solution. But what was your journey in there, coming from like that Bitcoin getting like a 4x growth already and then down the hill?
Well, it was turbulent to say the least. And it always comes back to the psychology because, as I mentioned, I thought I was this amazing trader who was just taking 10 trades a day, 9 out of 10 trades are in profit. I quickly got a reality check in that pivot towards the bear market and I traded myself to zero, literally zero, from over 200,000. Because I'm thinking to myself, I must be able to make this back. Maybe it's just a small losing streak. But I didn't understand that crypto flows in cycles. And I was better off actually just not really trading at all in a bear market and just accumulating at these low points for the next cycle. But obviously I didn't have that experience to just kind of take a step back, so to speak, revel in my profits, maybe make that money work for me by buying at the lows of the next bear market. Sadly, I didn't have that experience and I traded myself to zero. So I'm sure many people in crypto especially when you're young and my grandparents were proud of me. They're like, wow, you've just made all this money. And then I lost it all. I really had to come to terms with, why am I in crypto? Why am I in Bitcoin? What is this? Instead of just thinking I'm this amazing trader, why don't I actually look at the underlying, technology of the blockchain and have more of a conviction and be here more long term instead of just trying to make millions and millions? And that's what really helped me to stay around and stick around in crypto, is trying to figure out what the blockchain's about, how cryptocurrency as a whole can be very useful for people in, say, third world countries who are at the wrath of tyrannical governments, hyperinflation, which we all know very much too well in the last couple of years, coming off the back of COVID in particular. And I really had to figure out what worked for me to stick around and overcome that psychological hurdle.
But like, how did you recover? Because I think you mentioned a very great this story where you had money, you went all the way up, then you lost all of this, and like, how did you mitigate even this risk? Because like, losing all your money isn't the ideal scenario.
No, especially when I'm thinking that I'm letting my family down. This is a legacy that my great grandparents gave to me. They gave this money to me from their hard work. And I couldn't help but think I let them down. So I had to make them proud. And that's where I started to more diversify my risk appetite. I said, look, I need to find a source of income within crypto that isn't just trading. Because if your only source of income in crypto is trading, it's going to be really tough because you need that money. So I started making businesses on the side, actually property, real estate business I had on the side. I was broke. But what I figured I would do is go to these networking events, and I started talking to people with money, and I was just really eager to learn. And I started picking up knowledge in the property real estate business in the UK. I started making a network and a name for myself. And I said to people, look, I will do the legwork. I will call these agents. I will do all the faffing around, so to speak. I will find you good deals. I'll present them to you, and you just pay me a fee. And that started to work for me. I managed to get just a couple thousand a month coming in.
Like a broker.
Essentially, right? I was just doing the legwork for these people that had money, that didn't have time in the real estate business in the UK. And I was presenting them with good deals because I was on the phone to agents every day. So I had this money coming in, and now it's like, okay, I can relax a little bit because I've got cash flow coming in that can fund my trading, and I can also start putting some money into the lower risk assets within crypto, such as Bitcoin, such as Ethereum, and these other big market cap cryptos. So that was really what helped me psychologically.
And can we summarize that, in the beginning you were trying to make money by trading, and then you shifted to actually like an investment strategy, because what you described is less of a making directly money from the crypto and more of a long-term buying and holding. Because I think one of the biggest problems I see in an industry, especially by the newcomers, and a lot of my friends and family call me, they're like, oh, we saw, you work at one of the biggest exchanges. Tell us, what is the next money where we can put, I don't know, they never come as like a 50K. Unfortunately, it's always like a little money here and there, 5,000, 10,000. And everyone wants that, 100x over the night successful trade.
Yeah.
And that was the entire narrative of the crypto, how we all ended up here, right? Get rich quickly, buy Bitcoin the same way you probably came, because you were like, okay, this is money game. Let me make more money. Next thing is $1 million. Next thing is $1 trillion. I don't know, whatever the biggest 100 X's numbers are there. And eventually, without even looking into what's my a saving strategy, right? What is how my portfolio should look like, how I hedge, how I manage my risks, how much I can gamble actually, and how much I can really invest.
Yeah.
Because in stock market, you don't much gamble unless you're I don't know, GameStop, a meme things you are happening. But mainly it's actually a tangible company out there doing something.
Yeah, I mean, with the stock market, don't get me wrong, you do have different sides to it. Of course, you have the more risky side where people are trading these, not blue chip, like the low pink slip coins, for example. I mean, we've all seen Wolf of Wall Street, right? We know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's similar with crypto. And I come back to a conversation I had with my uncle just a few weeks ago in Christmas. I went over to his, we had some dinner together, as you do as a family. And he's like, you always seem to talk about Bitcoin and crypto. I think it's finally time that I get involved and I pick up my first Bitcoin or crypto, or what should I do? And I said to him, look, stop trying to figure out what the next coin is and stop trying to figure out the next strategy. The best thing to do is to copy what the hedge funds do in crypto. These are the big players. And what they do is they don't really care when they buy. They just dollar cost average. So they're buying, for example, every 4 days, every 2 weeks, every month. They don't mind what the price of Bitcoin is because they have that conviction in the long term, say 2 or 3 years' time. They know that Bitcoin is going to be a lot higher than it is now because historically that's been proven. So I said to my uncle, stop trying to figure out the next coin. Just pick up some Bitcoin and buy every week, put some money in and just leave it. Stop trying to find a strategy. Especially don't try and find the next 100x if you're new to crypto, which we always see on social media. And I'm slightly guilty of this because when you have a portfolio in crypto, you can allocate 5-10% of your funds to these more risky degen style plays. That's fine as long as you actually are putting some money into more safe investments where you have some high conviction, you understand the utility, you understand that what this project's about, the team, the development is unfolding, etc. So I always say make sure that you do have a nice diversified portfolio, depending on how much you're investing, of course. That will vary slightly depending on how much money you have. But for the most part, keep 5-10% for your degen style plays. Have a little bit of fun. Crypto is fun. It can be very fun. We've seen the meme coin madness recently in summer of this year. We saw Pepe. We're now seeing Solana meme coins going absolutely crazy. And whilst it's fun and you can make some money, you're also very much likely to lose that money. So just be careful.
Yeah, I love this theory that like meme coins are kind of a lottery tickets on a blockchain where you don't even it's not an investment, it's not a trade. Like usually because you don't hold meme coins, right? You buy them low, you sell them, you make that money, especially if you're lucky, because if you hold too much and then there's too much slippage, you can't even, you become rich on paper or on chain, but you can't even actually do much about it. But going back to that 50K, I'm still stuck there, It's a huge money. I wish I had 50K when I was 18. I would go buy, nice car and
it was tempting, believe me.
Ride around. What was your strategy in it? Like a beginning of the game, you said that, you got all the Bitcoins, but then how did you lose it? Because if you just hold it, then it wouldn't go away, right?
As I said, I had some experience trading beforehand. I was in the stock market for a few years, paper trading, demo trading, or finding platforms under like a family's name that I could just trade a little bit of money on. So I did have some experience trading. I knew the principles of risk reward. I understood the principles of buying and shorting. And I really hit the ground running in crypto with that prior knowledge. So I thought to myself, right, let's try and actually trade with this money. Initially, I tried to say to my grandma, I'm just going to buy and hold. That very much shifted when I saw the craziness that was happening in 2016 and 2017 in crypto, because everything just shoots up, especially back then in the bull market. Everything is going crazy. So I was thinking to myself, what's a strategy that works for me? And it was very much geared towards momentum trading, which is simple. The market's bullish, you should be buying. So 9 out of 10 of my trades are buy positions, which is why when we pivoted into a bear market, I was really blindsided because I'm like, I just didn't pick it up quick enough that we're now switching and I should be selling. And I kept trying to buy the dips, buy the dips, buy the dips. And then of course we went from 20,000 Bitcoin down to 3,000. And that's when I traded myself back down to zero.
That is... Honestly, I think like my main strategy is always like, while dollar cost averaging is really important, what I try to look at, especially in my portfolio, let's say X amount of Bitcoins I have, I try to keep that stable. And when the market is up, I try to sell a little bit and come and recover that my kind of a pool stays stable and like I don't look at my portfolio in like a dollar value. I try to look into like a
Yeah.
Bitcoin or Ethereum or this like a big tens. I usually hold that like what is the number in there that if I
Yeah.
have 10 Bitcoins, it should always stay 10 Bitcoins. Of course, some
Mm.
days it goes up to the 12, I buy, I sell. But like, I think that this strategy works for me where
Mm.
I look at it as an asset, right?
Yeah.
For example, if you do real estate, you buy a house, you flip it, but you want to replace it with a similar value, similar, I don't know, bedroom size or whatever is the
Mm.
number. And like, what is your strategy? Like, how do you kind of construct that hypothetical portfolio in your mind, and how do you keep up, or you are more of like a trade and dollar value?
So if we're talking more recently, I think it comes back to how much conviction you have in the potential in Bitcoin. Do you actually think Bitcoin is going to be the money that everyone is using in the next 5 years or 10 years? Or do you think that it's going to fade out and we're going to go back to the traditional system? If you have that high conviction, like you said, you should always be thinking, okay, I shouldn't be thinking about dollar valuations or euros or anything fiat. I should always be thinking I need more Bitcoin because, as we know, it's scarce. And over time, if we are starting to use Bitcoin as a method of real money and not just this online way of store of wealth and online transferring money, but actually everything is being used for Bitcoin. Like we're buying this cup, anything you can see physically, we're actually buying with Bitcoin, and you have that conviction. As you said, your strategy should always be putting your money back into Bitcoin and don't worry too much about the dollar evaluation. So again, ask yourself, everyone's different. And not everyone believes just right yet. Unfortunately, I wish I could persuade everyone that Bitcoin is the future, but you have to ask yourself, because conviction is key for long-term investing, not so much trading, but definitely investing. Because if we're looking at the stock market and we're looking at people from, the 1980s, 1970s who got into Coca-Cola and they got into Apple, the only people that really made a lot of money are the ones that had that conviction or they forgot about it. So either you forget about Bitcoin, which no one's going to do that really because it's in your face now, especially in a bull market, it's in the mainstream media, it's all over Twitter, it's all over social media. It's hard to forget about it, right? Or if you lose access to like a USB drive, but this is unrealistic. So it always comes back to what your conviction is, I think.
Honestly, like prior joining crypto until 2017, I used to be part of one of the very successful startups that became a unicorn valued at 2.7 billion. When I exited, it's now a decacorn. It's
Yeah.
super huge.
Wow.
And at that time, we had the one of the founders of the company. And as a true Middle Eastern, I love, lavish things. I always was thinking like a quick exit. And the company's co-founder, he always would like look at the company's, valuation and tell that, okay, our multiplier today is 10, right?
Mm.
And then he will be like, instead of flying business, we can fly economy, because the money we spend now on business, it's like a multiply 8 that we are losing. And the way I want to look at Bitcoin specifically is that today, if I'm spending, let's say, 1 Bitcoin to buy a nice watch or a car or whatsoever, in 10 years, it will be like 10x, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we saw in the last 10 years. Is it worth it, right?
Mm.
If you buy today $40,000 watch, it's actually like $500,000. Like, is that worth it?
Yeah.
And that is my belief and my conviction when we talk about investment, because in my opinion, like Bitcoin most probably won't be that transaction money that we go buy potatoes and tomatoes or I don't know, Coca-Cola, but it will eventually become like an gold or that main denominator, let's say, or like that accepted, form of holding value. And I think that's one of the greatest assets that right for investment more than to trade with it. Of course, you, as I mentioned, like I try to look at my portfolio in a number of, okay, this is the amount of Bitcoin I want to have. If I have 5 more Bitcoins, it means, yes, I am doing well, but I don't want to go below what I have. And I think that was the way I could kind of save my investment logic, both bear and bull markets, because I think in bull market, you are very tempted to sell.
Yep.
And in bear market, you are also very tempted to sell because you're like, oh, what if it goes much lower?
Yeah.
I can sell it now, buy it later.
Yeah, exactly. And most people, you know, they sell the bottom and they end up buying the top. I would say about 80 to 90% of people actually do the complete opposite of what you should be doing. And that comes back to psychology, right? When Bitcoin was down at the lows of $3,000, a lot of people are scared and they're thinking, is it over? Is Bitcoin really going to be what people are saying it is? And you see this FUD, especially on mainstream media. We had, you know, big names like Jamie Dimon, for example, and other people saying, you know, this is basically a scam. Just forget about Bitcoin on mainstream media. And that's inciting fear into people at the lows. So it's understandable that people do the opposite of what they should be doing. And I think that people need to kind of educate themselves in the fact that conviction is very important, and stop trying to time the market as well, because no one's buying the bottom. If they told you they bought the exact bottom, they probably are either A, lying, or they just kept buying every small little drop. And maybe they did end up buying the bottom after consecutive losses. So just be careful about what people say, because oftentimes, you know, they didn't buy the bottom. And stop trying to time the market. And what I mean by that, it comes back to what I told my uncle, is the hedge funds are the king in crypto right now. And what they do is they dollar cost average. They don't really look at the price. They just know, if I buy every week, in 5 years' time, we are going to have an average of a very good position. So again, don't try and time the market. Just dollar cost average, get a good position. Like you said, have a set amount of Bitcoins that you want as to when you buy that. Don't stress too much. You might end up buying a little bit too high than you wanted. But in 5 years' time, 3 years' time, it really isn't going to matter. And you won't be sidelined. Because in this rally that we're seeing now to 40,000 plus Bitcoin, many people are sidelined and never actually got to buy, because there was a lot of fear around the pandemic. There was a lot of fear at the bottom of this rally around 16,000 in the lows of 2022 going into 2023. There was a lot of fear. People were very fearful. And no one really managed to pick up the bags that they wanted to. That's what I'm seeing right now in my community. People just kept trying to short. They're like, surely Bitcoin's not going to recover yet. So just don't try and time the market. Dollar cost averaging is always the best strategy, in my opinion.
Also, I noticed that, like, especially BitGet is one of the biggest platforms, and our most, you know, let's say best-selling product is copy trading. Because I always say to my friends and family, as you mentioned, like the timing the market, it's very hard for an average person, especially if you are not like a full-time trader, to look at the market. And compared to stock market, crypto exchanges never sleep, right? Because especially in this part of the world, we saw that Bitcoin was in 40s, that first fake tweet went up, right? It hit 48, and then ETFs approved it, hit 46, and it went up and down and up and down. And in theory, if you could predict that market and bought at 40, sold at 48, came back when it's, in theory, it would definitely work. Probably no one was that much invested. Probably, as you know, in the Middle East, it was like a 4 a.m. or I don't know, 3 a.m. Most probably you won't even awake when that news is coming. Like everything moves so fast. Maybe having the right bots and like an AI could help doing that decisions on the spot that quickly. But as you mentioned, probably that people who claim that they bought the lowest low and sold the highest high, lying.
Yeah, there's definitely it's a bit of smoke and mirrors. I don't think they're very genuine when they're saying that. And look, some people, of course, they manage to buy the bottom, but oftentimes that's because they're buying every small little drop and they've lost a lot of money in the process. So just add a pinch of salt to what you see on social media, especially in crypto, because you know people are very good at making them out to be this very good investor and trader on social media, but you don't see behind the scenes that 95% of people are losing money if they're trying to buy and sell and time the market. That percentage is a lot lower. People are making more money if they just buy and hold. Historically speaking, if you bought 2, 3, 4 years ago, not quite 2, if you bought a 60,000, But historically speaking, if you bought a couple of years ago, you would be in profit now, or you're going to be very soon. So you will beat these people who are constantly trying to buy and sell and time the market. So
I have my own scenarios, but like, what's your take? Like, why in all the other assets, right? We talked about real estate, or also like a Coca-Cola shares, and like Amazon, and like Apple stocks, and so on. Like, why people who traditionally invest and invested, through their banks, through different apps, they were like more prone to sit and wait. The
mm,
homes, my grandparents bought, and they knew that, like, it will become money, but like they never wanted to sell the same home after 2 years because now
mm,
it's 20% expensive, right? But like with crypto assets, it's such a quick kind of a
mm,
turnaround. Everyone wants to get quick rich now.
mm.
And people are not that, sit and wait kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
scenario.
I think that might come into social media a lot, definitely, because what gets views in crypto, and I'm guilty of this myself, is what's the next 100x crypto? What's the next launchpad or ICO that's going to make you a millionaire? For example, I would say one of the top YouTubers right now is Alex Becker. We all see him on our For You page on YouTube. Early buys will make millions. This coin's going to 10x next month. So social media plays into this, and you really just have to add a pinch of salt to what you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying that a 100x is impossible. Actually, I've done it a few times. I'm just saying that in the process, I also lost a lot of money trying to find that one project that did do well. So again, add a pinch of salt. I'm not saying it's impossible, but just make sure if you have a portfolio in crypto, that most of that is parked into high conviction, high utility, good, solid projects that you're going to hold for at least 2 years, and stop thinking about next week, next month, and start thinking a bit more long term. And again, have that 5 to 10% bag where you have a bit of fun and you are looking for these high risk plays. That's totally fine. And if anything, that's what makes crypto what it is. It makes crypto fun for people. So that's my opinion.
I think you touched a very important point, because like I recently, one of the friends of mine sent me another video like talking about that 100x, and he's like, "Oh, do you think it's possible?" And I thought, like, it's very easy. You can go to Coin Market Cap or any other like tool where you can see that how much money is actually invested in that tokens, and
Yeah.
multiply it 100 times to see, do you believe that there will be another 2 3
Yeah.
billion coming to that project? If it is not, then probably not. Or
Mm.
amount of the tokens issued, you just look at if they had, I don't know, 200 million tokens,
Yeah.
and if you think that it will reach $1,
Yeah.
you multiply, and like, it's not much there. Like, even
Mm.
like the meme coin, like a Dogecoin, right? People talk about like, oh, it's gonna reach X amount. And
Mm.
like, if you calculate, you see that like crypto is not that a big market. It's like
Is a fraction of gold, for example. I was looking at the market cap this morning, 1.6 trillion in crypto. And what's gold? Gold is like 12 trillion, right? So we're not even really a fraction of what gold is. And to be honest, look, everyone in crypto has a different starting point. Not everyone has 50,000 to invest. I was very appreciative and grateful for the position that I got to start in. Oftentimes, people just have a couple $100. And that's why we see on social media this big push towards these high risk plays. And it's totally fine if that works for you, but just understand that, there's more to crypto than just these high risk plays. The blockchain has some very solid tech behind it, and it's really helping third world countries. As I mentioned, these countries with tyrannical governments experiencing hyperinflation. This is a way out for them. So you need to factor in both sides to it. And as you said, the end goal is to park your money into Bitcoin. So if you do make money on this next 100x play, make sure that you put that money into Bitcoin and hold for the long term. Don't cash it out and go and buy a nice watch. Try to hang around in crypto and obviously park that money into Bitcoin. Now, if I had to give some advice for people that just are starting with, say, $100 or $200, because I know not everyone has the luxury of investing thousands, you need to understand the best opportunity you have is mini cycles within crypto. I'll give you some examples. So, for example, we have NFTs, which quickly faded out. We're seeing now that NFTs have pretty much collapsed. There's not much left of them.
That's my saddest crypto story. If
Yeah.
I could choose one, it would be NFTs, because technology is so amazing,
Mm.
but the way it was flipped, it was again another get rich quick
Yeah,
schema
yeah.
that ruined entire trust. And I always say, like, I go to so many crypto events, and I speak in most of them, and all the time when I get these digital emails with
Yeah.
QR codes, and I'm like, why no any crypto event even deployed that NFT tickets that we were always talking that, oh, technology has so many application, airlines gonna do this, everyone else gonna do it, like, why crypto industry doesn't want to do it itself?
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, like, trust is gone.
Exactly, it's been hijacked essentially by the people just looking to make fast money, and they're just ignoring the underlying technology of the non-fungible tokens, which we see in games, we see in like CS:GO, we see with the skins market, which is very lucrative. People are making tens of thousands of dollars flipping skins. That non-fungible technology can be transferred into the real world, into assets that can be linked to the blockchain. And it is very sad that this is kind of fading out. Maybe we'll get another cycle. Who knows? I hope that we do, because I do actually really like NFTs. And going back to my experience, for example, I invested about $800 into an NFT called Creeps. And it was the typical rush into Discord, trying to get a whitelist spot, everyone fighting over the spot. Thankfully, I managed to get a position and a whitelist spot in Creeps, and I turned that $800,000 into $200,000. So it is possible to experience this 100x, 200x plays, but in the process, I invested into at least 10 NFTs that went absolutely nowhere, and I lost the money. So you have to factor that in, of course.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. Like, one narrative about like the social media and like a news media about the crypto industry was that, oh, someone invested $100, got like 100x story, and while no one wanted to talk about what they lost in the process.
Yeah.
And then also, especially we talked about third world countries with different like a hyperinflation and so on. In that country, you will see that people get scammed a lot because my parents live in Azerbaijan, and there was this very famous, huge scam happening. The company was selling mining devices that people could mine crypto, and it had an app that connected. And actually, the device didn't mine anything. You would just plug it in electricity. It will have this like a connect to your Wi-Fi and just fake everything.
Oh my God.
And they were selling these devices expensively. They did like a pyramid schema, kind of a Ponzi, and took all the money and run, while destroyed like a crypto for the entire country once and forever, and no one trusts it anymore.
That's very sad. And I hope that in the time as the market matures, we see more adoption, we see more regulation, that things like that won't happen. I really do hope that we see that progress as soon as possible, really, because I hate to hear the fact that people already facing challenges, their hope of using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to help their situation and to help, as we mentioned, with these tyrannical governments, then losing hope because they've experienced such an issue, such as a scam that you've said. That's very sad. And I hope that as the adoption increases and the regulation increases, that we don't see that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's not only about like increasing regulation, especially like you live in UK, and like how every day there's a new announcement, new extra layers coming, and how crypto industry is treated as a capital gains instead of an actual, money, and it changed all the narrative differently because then you need to make more than that 36% to even do something.
Exactly.
Which is not fair in my opinion.
No. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people come to Dubai. Exactly. I think Dubai is already the hub for crypto. And I think that we'll continue to see that because Dubai is in alignment with what crypto stands for. And that is no tax. You're able to move your money around freely and you have that freedom. And also in Dubai, you tell someone that you've made money, they're like happy for you. They're like, good for you. How can I work with you? In the UK, when they find out you've made money, they're like, oh, they might swear at you. They're going to cuss at you. They're like, how did you do that? That's a scam. You must be a fraud. It's definitely a a different culture, 100%. And I think that Dubai is definitely the hub of crypto.
Yeah, I think they're like Dubai and also like Emirates in Abu Dhabi. We have Vara in Dubai. We have Vara in Abu Dhabi. We have ADGM. It's not only about like regulating, but also motivating, like to build more things. Because, in my opinion, the next bigger cycle for crypto will be like when more things are built on the technology and not just like issuing tokens and buying and selling all this like memes and project and actual building products that we can utilize and spend and earn within the ecosystem.
Makes sense.
My really favorite tools, one of the tools are almost all big exchanges like these days offers like a credit card or transaction cards that you can actually spend your money without need to go to over the counter and turn it on actually like a paper money, because it's another currency, right? You can just have that exchange rate and do it the same way when you come to Dubai with your like a UK card and pay in pounds, but like everything happens in the background. And I hope that like the legislation would not only control, but it will also motivate to build more things in there.
Yeah, I hope so too. And going back to your point about the credit card, my girlfriend, she's still trying to wrap her head around that's possible, because to her, she just thinks this is like an online digital currency. How can you possibly spend that to go and buy a pair of shoes or your groceries? But it can be instantly transferred into a fiat currency and then spent for very little fees as well. We're not at the point yet of actually someone really accepting Bitcoin. I mean, you do this in third world countries like Costa Rica. You can go to a market and just scan a QR code and pay in Bitcoin. We don't quite see that yet. Unless you're buying assets, for example, in the UAE, it's very possible to go and buy a house or a car with USDT or Ethereum, and you can transfer the direct crypto asset. But if you're going into, say, a typical grocery shop like Marks and Spencer's or Waitrose, and you're buying your groceries, you can't just scan a QR code yet. Hopefully that will come soon. You do have to swap that into a fiat currency and then spend it. So
yeah, but I always tell people, right? Back in times, it was like a very cash heavy. Today, it's already digital money, right? The bank doesn't, because try to go and withdraw cash from your bank. You have to, make a request well in advance that they would actually find and bring that cash for you, because no one goes around, even like banks doesn't hold like a actual paper money in that big vaults like in the films we see. It's not happening. All the money is in the numbers, in the system. It's not on blockchain in traditional finance, but it is already a digital money. And everything we see, every money we spend on our credit cards, actually it's just a number. And I think blockchain technology makes it much secure, much transparent, much faster to transact, because today if you want to do a cross-border transaction or just go to Western Union and try to transfer money, fees are super high, rates are insane, and it takes time, while crypto is instant. And I think like it's not like I don't understand. I think we need to educate our friends and family and the bigger audience much better on how that transactions could seamlessly happen without us, even knowing. And I think that was one of the biggest shortcomings of the crypto industry, was that there were gas fees. And even today, if you want to, transfer some USDT on Ethereum or in Tron network, you have to have another ETH or TRCs to pay for that transaction. While I think the great thing centralized exchange do that, you don't have that. And it makes it very convenient. And I think that's another big leap should happen, that there should be like a less and less these technological barriers for the newbies to make it easy, like your girlfriend or my mom.
Yeah, and coming back to what you mentioned about the education side of things is, our great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, they would have dreamed of living in this age of having access to information that we do right now. You can just go on YouTube, you can go on these platforms, and you have a plethora of free resources. You can learn pretty much anything you want to. So I ask people, stop asking or looking around for courses to buy. Oftentimes, you're going to find exactly what you want on YouTube. Just you have to search the right thing. So if you want to learn about how to pick up your first Bitcoin, how to get started in crypto, go on YouTube, search that. You don't have to pay anyone for this knowledge. It's free. And people need to use their initiative a little bit more and start leveraging what is already online and is totally free. And just use Google, use YouTube, and join a free community, and stop trying to lead with your wallet. You don't have to pay for the information. It's out there for you for free.
And I think like what's one thing great about crypto, I know a lot of people who never, had any stocks or invested in stocks or any other like a trading or financial instruments, and they're very keen about crypto. And I think the best part of it is because of that free education and available education and information. Of course, it's not the highest quality. There are a lot of, goods and bads out there. I don't know, promoting some shit coins and all the like different projects, shilling and things happening. But I think the great part is that like community is very open to that exchange, sharing the knowledge. Because today, if you want to go and try to get a deeper knowledge about stock market, it's very hard, it's very limited. And eventually in that pro level of trading, you need to pass so many tests and become that, chartered financial person, who actually can go and do big trade, be on a trading floor. While, as you mentioned, like a 14, 15, 16, whatever the legal age is, year old can come to crypto,
Exactly.
do nice flips and make much more money.
Exactly. And you don't have to be trading real money. With BitGet, you can demo trade. And I always recommend to people, if you're wanting to trade and not just invest, please start on a demo account. There's no point in burning money at the start. You're not going to be profitable in the first few months of trading. In fact, I would argue you're not going to be profitable in the first 2 years of trading unless you get somewhat lucky. But luck can really fizzle out very quick. So you're better off actually starting with a demo account, working your way up. And once you've figured out that you have a strategy that works for you, that's when you can start putting in your own money and starting to trade, which please draw the distinction between trading and investing. They are totally different. And the goal should always be to fuel your investments with your trading, okay? And make sure that you keep that distinction very, very clear between the two, because sometimes you start to conflate the two, and that's when an issue comes into play. And I've seen that in my community a lot. People start taking from their investments when their trades are losing, and then very quickly their investments are fizzling out, and both of their accounts are being blown, because trading is very difficult. 95% of people are losing money trading. We've all heard this statistic that most people are losing money trading. So please make sure you draw that distinction and don't conflate the two, so that you can actually have that potential to, invest long-term into crypto.
Yeah, I think like being a trader is a job, a full-time job, more than full-time job. And you need hours and hours and hours of like a trading and training for that. And I think the same way pilots do simulations, I don't know, surgeons work on dummies, like you need to work on a demo account if you want to first-hand trade. And I always tell people like that, of course, first you have to have this like a clear distinction, what you are investing, what you are playing with. And in my opinion, when you start trading, you should be very comfortable losing that money. You should take it out of your system kind of and call it a learning money, and you play with it. And I think that is when, all this like a meme coins come in place, and because you can buy $2, $5 worth of them and see how market react and like kind of learn on it. But also, in my opinion, instead of doing hours of research, it's also easy to go and copy the trades of be it a hedge fund, be it a professional trader or a bot. Because I think with AI, we saw that like how bots can make a good decisions and they have no emotions. And that is, honestly, I haven't done any bot trading myself, but all my trader friends they're less or more happy about the results. And I know a lot of traders, even on BitGet, the availability that there are so many traders that develop their own tools with their own logic. They basically kind of replicated their own brain into that trade. Have you ever traded with the bot?
I have actually a few times, yeah. But for me, trading with a bot is more long term. I've got a few friends similar to you that also trade with the bot, and they're making, say, a stable few percent a month. Because as you said, these bots don't have emotions and they can actually pull out of the market just a stable couple percent a month. But people, they're not satisfied with just a few percent a month, especially in crypto, because on social media, we always see, I keep going back to social media, and obviously I'm an influencer myself, and I need to tell people that you have to add a pinch of salt to what you see, because it's not realistic to be expecting to just double your account in a few weeks or a few months. And if you're doing that, it might be a challenge, it might be a bit of fun, but this doesn't reflect real trading. If you said this to someone in the traditional finance, say what my uncle trading for a bank, if you told him you doubled your account in a month, he's going to spit his coffee at you, he's going to laugh at you, you're an idiot, you'll lose that money. And he's totally right, realistically speaking. Unless you cash that money out, you got lucky and you can put that into Bitcoin, but this is just unrealistic.
No one ever does that. I think that's the one thing I always say, like, whenever you are lucky, because you don't want to stop. You don't want to believe that it's like a one-time luck. Actually, like every time, whenever you catch that big thing, you think that, okay, you are the most knowledgeable man. And because you want to claim that success, you don't want to say, oh, it was just a luck. I did that one transaction. And I never saw anyone that was so, sober that they would like, okay, this was luck. I'll take my money and I'll go. And otherwise, Vegas wouldn't exist if every time people who won took the money and went on and invested. And I think that's one of the very important lessons for everyone, that whenever you are lucky, you need to make sure that, you put more money into your investing portfolio, and then you keep playing with the portion of the money that you're comfortable losing. And that's how trading should happen, in my opinion. Unless you're a professional trader and you know what you are doing, that's your bread and butter. But if it's not your full-time job, why would you do that?
Exactly. I definitely agree.
Amazing. Thanks for the talk today. I was your host, Fugar Usi, and at BitGet Show, we were hosting Smith.
Thank you very much. I very much enjoyed the time here, guys. Thank you. And I hope to be a guest on the podcast again soon.